This evening is dedicated to Impakt Online, the online art platform that is actually a yearly recurring part of Impakt Festival. What we do is commission 3 artworks made especially for the internet, or this year hitting the streets mainly. And the theme for this year, I'm keeping it a bit short, but the theme for this year, the city as interface, is not didn't just pop up. Actually, I also work at the Institute of Network Cultures in Amsterdam, where we already for 5 years have been doing research into urban screens. And we noticed that during those 5 years a lot changed. It started with the huge permanent screens in the streets, and people were doing research about that, and people were making art projects for those screens. And then it became interactive works for those screens in the streets, and then it became people working with locative media, mobile phones. And these things, and then came last year, suddenly people were talking about urban informatics, like the traces in the streets. Maybe we should consider them data and map them. And when Impakt decided to dedicate their year's festival to Matrix City, the time was ripe to also dedicate an Impakt Online to the city as interface. Tonight what we'll do is we'll present 3 new artworks, and we've invited Marc Tuters, who is actually one of the people who coined the term locative media, a very important researcher in the field of locative media.
I am going to give you a presentation on a bunch of things. I'll start from the very locative, and then I'll kind of end up at the global. So this is 1 year of edits in OpenStreetMap, which is a user-generated mapping software or project that I actually used to get here today because I couldn't get my iPhone to work. And this didn't exist some years ago. And there was an anecdote that I used to tell when I first became involved with locative media in the UK. All of the maps belonged to the government, to the crown copyright. And so you couldn't actually use any of the maps without the permission of the Queen. And so there was like a guy who was a contractor who was replacing a streetlight, and he told the Royal Ordnance Survey, who take care of the maps, that, well, your map is not correct. Actually, the intersection is, some meters or feet, I guess, in the UK, over to the north. And they said, no, actually, the streetlight, the intersection is wrong. The map is correct. So that kind of captured this perfect metaphor of postmodernism. The sort of terrain precedes the map. So that was what initially got me interested in locative media, was this kind of paradox.
This year you have created a electric walk for Utrecht. Can you tell us a little bit about your project first, to introduce it?
The idea was to make a map of the city about what you usually do not see, which is hidden, and it's about the electromagnetic fields, which are now in every place in the world, sometimes stronger, sometimes less strong. And every city is characterized a little bit. The acoustic normal sounds and the electromagnetic sounds are fields which are translated to sounds, very much correspond to each other and to the character of a city. So it took me like 3 days to walk around and make a kind of portrait of the city, and it's very interesting to see how certain places which look very old and kind of historic sound very different.
Mm-hmm. So how does that work exactly for those of us who haven't?
Well, I have a big headphone with coils in it, and then a little custom-made electronic stuff, and then the sounds, the electromagnetic waves are directly translated into sounds by a small amplifier. So you put on this kind of extended ear. It's a kind of tool. It's not a headphone. It just looks like it.
I'm Claudia Bernett. I'm here from New York, and I'm so newly here that I might stumble over my words due to jet lag, and I will try not to. Actually split my life between sort of working professionally as a user experience designer at a design shop called Method in New York, and a variety of art and design work that's my own. And so I did a project called Tall Tales that was commissioned by Impakt Online. Essentially what I'm calling it is an urban collaborative storytelling game. And it also extends a game, which just occurred to me in doing this presentation that was similar to the sound installation, and maybe a theme emerging out of my work. But the Surrealists had a parlor game called Exquisite Corpse, which you may or may not know by that name, but it was a game where, and you've probably played it, a game where you start a story with a phrase and pass it on to the next person, and then each new phrase, the rest of the story is hidden except for the very last that was contributed. So it's actually a direct evolution of that, Tall Tales, and it's meant to sort of inject that sort of gameplay back into the city and engage people of the city in a kind of new sort of playfulness and a new spinning of a narrative that would eventually sort of reflect back on the city.